Hannah Murray on TRE in the afternoon.
Good afternoon. Joining us on the line now is Zack Rogow. He's a poet, playwright and educator whose new book, The Kama Sutra for Senior Citizens and Other Poems on Aging, celebrates aging with humour, grace and an open heart. He asks, what does love look like in life's later chapters, and answers with the hard-won wisdom of a man newly single in his senior years. From the awkward hilarity of re-entering the world of romance to the sweetness of new connections to the lively chaos of grandchildren. Welcome to the show, Zack.
Thank you so much, Hannah.
It's lovely to have you with us. And I have to congratulate you on the title of your book. I think it's brilliant.
Oh, thank you. I just want to make sure people understand that this is not a sex manual. It's a book of poems about finding love late in life.
Yeah. And tell us what that was like for you, having been with the same person for over 3 decades, the idea of going dating again.
Well, it was bewildering at first, and I had to relearn some basic social skills, like what one does on a first date, the kinds of conversations you have. And all that was kind of intriguing at first, but I went on a lot of first dates. I think I went on 75 first dates before ultimately meeting my new partner, not on a dating app, but through mutual interest.
Gosh, 75 new dates. So the fact that they were all first dates, was there not a second date then? Were they all a bit of a disaster?
No, there were quite a few second dates, but I would say the majority were pretty clear from the first couple of hours that even though this person might be someone I liked and was remarkable in many ways, it wasn't necessarily a person who I'd think about having a relationship with, or they had the same conclusion about me.
Mm. And do you think you're automatically looking for different things as you get older? The kind of person that you're looking to spend time with is maybe different than the kind of person that you would have been attracted to decades earlier. I don't just mean looks-wise, obviously. I mean personality-wise.
Well, I think the field narrows a great deal when you're older, partly because you think more logically, or maybe you think ahead more when you're older. When you're younger, I think the spill of the passion carries you along in a way that wouldn't happen necessarily when you're older. So you're not necessarily thinking ahead when you're younger.
Yeah. And what about the personality traits, the kind of person that you want to spend time with as you've got older? I assume that's changed as well.
Well, one thing that is very important to me as I get older is kindness. And, for example, I met one woman when I was dating on the apps who was brilliant, attractive, funny. There were so many amazing things about her. But when we went out to dinner, she was always mean to the waiters. That told me something that I hadn't really thought about before, that kindness is basically one of the first criteria.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I'd feel the same if you were with someone who was really charismatic and fun and everything was going well. But if you saw them being rude to the waiters, that would definitely put me off. So I totally agree. So can you tell us a little bit about your situation now, the partner that you did find, and how and why it worked?
Well, it was very much by chance that we met. So I'm a writer and a translator, and I had translated a novel by a wonderful contemporary French novelist named Isabelle Stebe. And I was doing a private event at a friend's house for this novel. And my partner-to-be was not actually invited to this event. She had a friend who was invited to this event who couldn't go. And so my partner sort of crashed the event because she's very interested as well in French literature. In fact, she reads quite a bit more of it than I do, even though I'm a translator. And so she came to the event. She asked a great question. She came up afterwards and talked to me and suggested another book I might be interested in translating. And I said to her, well, why don't we get together? She said, I can lend you the book. And I said, why don't we get together and you can give me the book? And she thought I was interested in the book, which I was. But I really wanted to get to know her, which ultimately happened.
Oh, fantastic. Nice that it happens so naturally.
Yes, that is lovely when that happens. I mean, there's nothing wrong with meeting people online, but it didn't actually happen that way for me.
Yeah. And with all the different dates that you went on, were you, because obviously there's lots of humor in the book, were there funny dates? Were there dates that made you think, oh my goodness, this would be brilliant in a book? Was that what kind of sort of inspired it?
Well, I didn't want to go into the details of bad dates in the book necessarily, but I can tell you one anecdote. There was one date I had where we met at a cafe. We were planning to meet at a cafe. After 45 minutes, and I went all the way to her neighborhood. I live in the San Francisco Bay Area of California. So I crossed the Bay Bridge and, drove for maybe an hour to be in her neighborhood. 45 minutes into the time when we're supposed to meet, she's not there. I call her. She said, "Oh, are we still getting together?" And so she finally shows up an hour late. She talks for 2 hours, a blue streak. I can't even wedge in one comment for 2 hours. And at the end of it, she gets up and says, "We should do this again soon. You're such a good conversationist."
And you didn't even get to speak.
No.
Gosh.
But I didn't want to put that in the book. I wanted to focus on the positive side of meeting someone who is compatible and the steps involved in getting to know someone late in life when both of us had a lot of baggage, and she even had grandchildren at this point.
Yeah. And how has that been? Because, again, I think that's obviously something that changes when you're older. The older you are when you meet someone, the likelihood is somebody does have baggage, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. And they're likely to have children and grandchildren. And when you're younger, I think you might see that as more of a problem. But when you're older, it's more normal.
Well, it's not only normal, it can be a plus in a way. What if I read you a poem about the grandchildren? Would that be...
Yeah, lovely. So can you just say, first of all, whether you have grandchildren or are they her grandchildren?
Well, initially she was the one with grandchildren, but now, fortunately, I also have a granddaughter of my own.
Lovely.
Yes. So this is called Toddler at Grandma's, this poem. Mommy says I can play with anything I can reach, so I'm knocking down every single stacking block. Mommy's still paying attention. Yes. Time to grab each plastic lid out of the cabinet and fling it as far as I can. Mommy's watching. Perfect. Now I'm opening all the books on the shelf and flipping them every which way. Grandma says no. Don't throw the heavy ones with the color pictures. Too bad. Maybe when the big bigs aren't looking. Grandma takes me to look at the cookies baking in the don't touch. The cookies look like Mommy's eyes. But where is that, Mommy? Nowhere I can see. I'm running into every room. I'm starting to cry. I'm even looking in the bathroom. What is she doing in there without me? She's at the sink. I hug her leg tight as I can. She reaches down and lifts me, my cheek against her soft cheek. I smell that yummy Mommy smell, so good. Okay, let me go now. Let me go. I have to take all the metal pans out of the cupboards and crash them to the floor.
Oh, lovely. Brilliant. And where do you get... I'm interested to know how you go about writing your poetry, where it kind of stems from, whether you have a whole idea or one line, or whether it's a picture that comes into your mind. How does it start?
It can be any of those that you mentioned, Hannah. I don't know. It's a mysterious thing, isn't it? Where creativity comes from. It's kind of like humor. Like when you say something funny, you don't know what you're going to say before you open your mouth. You just have this feeling that something funny is going to bubble out of you. And a poem is that way too. There's a kind of unconscious, spontaneous quality about it that, well, it's a very exciting thing to be a writer, I think.
And do you have some serious poems in there, or are they all humorous and lighthearted?
Oh, there's a lot of pathos involved in getting older because you lose friends. There's illness. There's the piling up of a lifetime of experiences, not all of which are happy. So there's quite a mix in the book of both pathos and and humor.
And is it nice to share those moments with somebody else, presumably? Talk about your life with somebody who hasn't been around for your life. You know, that's the other thing, as you say, when you're meeting someone in your older years, you've had a whole life without them, as have they without you.
Yes, well, there's pros and cons to that, isn't there? Because, or aren't there? Because on the one hand, yes, there are all these interesting stories we have to tell one another. On the other hand, there are all these experiences that they don't want to repeat. Like, I've never been to Vienna. I'd love to see Vienna and all the wonderful, architecture and Gustav Klimt and everything. And she said, "Oh, been there, done that. Vienna, no." So, it really depends. On the other hand, we do have stories to tell each other.
So I guess there's a lot of compromise, as in any relationship.
Yes, there's quite a lot of compromise. I mean, I moved in with my partner during COVID, thinking we would be hanging out for a couple of weeks together. We're still living together, and I mean, I'm in her space where she's lived for 40 years, so I have to tread very lightly because every single thing in that house has a history and a meaning to her. So that took a little learning to understand, how to treat her home with the same kind of honor that I would treat a place where I had that lifetime as well.
And that must be difficult, because when you're getting a home together, if you're starting from scratch together, buying a place together, you're likely to be buying furniture and art and ornaments and things like that together. But if you're moving into her space, she's already got all that. So is that hard for you, not having or as much of a stamp on the place?
Well, I do have my man cave. I'm speaking to you from my man cave, which is kind of a studio below the house. But in the book, The Kama Sutra for Senior Citizens and Other Poems on Aging, I talk about this kind of dance that couples do where they're trying to make space for one another and still have time when they're very close. That's kind of where the book leads in the end.
And the fact that obviously you mentioned Kama Sutra in the title. I know you said it's not a sex manual or anything, but you do obviously talk about intimacy and sex in the book.
Yeah, so one of the things I learned from my very bohemian and eccentric mother was that sex is a part of life throughout life. And she talked to me very positively about sex from the time I was a preteen. And one of the poems in my book, The Kama Sutra for Senior Citizens and Other Poems on Aging, is called What My Mother Told Me at the Automat. And I don't know if people remember what an automat was, but when I was a kid, there were these restaurants that people thought would be the wave of the future. They were automats where you would put money in a slot and you'd open up this polished chrome window and take out a dish. And people felt this was so modern and cool. It was, very much of a particular time, like 1950s. And my mother used to take me there when we went shopping. I grew up in New York City. And, she'd take me shopping once a year for my new school clothes. And she would talk to me about life, smoking her unfiltered cigarettes, telling me how it was bad to smoke. And she talked about passion and how important passion was in life, and that has stayed with me even into my senior years.
Yeah, nice. Well, if people want to get a copy of the book, it's called The Kama Sutra for Senior Citizens and Other Poems on Aging. It's available on our website, TRE.radio, and it's by Zack Rogow, who we've been chatting with today. Zack, lovely to chat with you. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Hannah. This was so fun.